Brian Kelly blows up on a reporter postgame, but what message was he trying to send? We're going to dissect it here. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get great podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you sincerely for that. LSU beat Florida 20-10 on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. A great atmosphere, environment, and an SEC win as LSU moves to 3-0. On Sunday, they remain number 3 in the country, but all of the fallout continues to be from Brian Kelly's post-game dust-up with my buddy Michael Koppel from WBRZ Television. If you caught our post-game recap and reaction episode, I discussed this a little bit, but this is going to be more of a deeper dive into what I think Brian Kelly was getting at, and we're going to weave in a lot of his other comments post-game because I think he is illustrating for all of us now what we can expect from this team moving forward. But first, in case you missed it, I don't know how you could have, but this was the interaction. It was the first. It's Brian Kelly comes out of the team leaves the field. They go into the locker room. Coach talks to the team. Then he comes into the media room, which is attached to the locker room. 15 minutes after the game, and Brian Kelly offers a brief opening statement. And the first question was from Michael Koppel of WBRZ.
Brian, in the back, I know you love these immediate post-game sessions, but what are you seeing with your offense?
Stop. Really? Is that the first question? We won the game 20-10. Try another question. What do you want me to tell you? I just laid it out for you. We played the game to win the game. We played the game to win the game.
All right. How about third down then? What is going on with third down?
It's one game. Last game, we were great on third down. You're looking at this from the wrong perspective. LSU won the football game. Won the game. I don't know what you want from me. What do you want? You want us to win 70-0 against Florida to keep you happy?
No, I think people want to know why you can't run the ball, quite honestly.
We can run the ball. Did you see the last play of the game? That's all you need. You just need one. There's a ridiculous questions. And I'm getting tired of it. That football team just worked their tail off to get an SEC win, and you want to know what's wrong. You know what? You're spoiled. You're spoiled. This team is 17-1 at night. 17-1. Give them some respect. How about that? Give them some respect instead of micro-analyzing every little thing. This is ridiculous. For a group of seasoned reporters, that kind of question is so out of line.
Now, I don't think the question was out of line in any way. And the truth is, these are the numbers, okay? Through 3 games, LSU currently is 117th in the country in rushing yards, averaging 110.7 yards per game, 117 out of 134. They are 62nd in passing offense at 235 yards a game. LSU is 112th in scoring offense at 20 points per game. Now, the great news is they're 11th in the country in scoring defense at allowing 9 points per game. The defense has been magnificent. And what Brian Kelly and this team has shown so far is you can win games with ball control, limit offensive mistakes, playing field position, and defense. And by the way, if you're an LSU fan, and by nature of the fact that you're watching this, I'm assuming you are, LSU won a lot of games for about a decade with Les Miles as the coach doing this exact thing. And you can win a lot of games. The real question is, can you win a championship without balance? And that's where I think the question comes in. Now, I have a problem with what Brian Kelly said. Listen, a coach can say whatever he wants in his post-game press conference. He can answer a question how he wants, or she, whatever the case may be. I'm talking about football here, of course. But if a lot of times coaches speak to their teams through the media, the guys no doubt are going to see that, and they're going to take that as their coach defending them, and that's what he wants to see. The problem I have at the end is saying that the question was out of line. The question is very much in line. This is an LSU offense that, as we just talked about through 3 weeks, is objectively not good. They're objectively not a good offense right now. Let me rephrase that. They are objectively right now through 3 weeks not a productive offense. I don't know how you could look at the numbers I just said and said it any other way. They're 117th in rush offense. They're 112th in scoring offense. They're 62nd in passing offense. They haven't been effective. Now, I also believe they've played two exceptional defenses in Clemson and Florida, and they took an approach to the game where they just weren't going to allow those defensive fronts to beat them. They were going to win the game the way they had to win the game. And you heard Brian Kelly say it there a bit and was interwoven. Now, I'm going to take you from the beginning of his press conference to the very end, the very last question. And then we're going to go back and fill in some of the gaps in the middle, because you have this very emotional outburst at the beginning. And then as you go through a 13, 14-minute press conference, which he had settled, and then he gave a more sensible answer of what I think this is what he's trying to say. Now, you may not like this, by the way. I mean, full disclosure, and then we're going to go fill in the gaps. You may not like this, but this is what I believe Brian Kelly is getting at.
I mean, guys, you guys were here when we had a prolific offense. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. You can't outscore people and be a championship team. You can build your offense around the defense if it's that good. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get better on offense, be more efficient. But at the end of the day, we're not going to put our defense in a bad situation. And that's what we have to get better at. If there's some takeaways from here, it's really about ball control, flipping the field, doing a better job of being more efficient in third down situations when we can run it in third and short. And maybe we got to get in the eye like we did at the end there with a fullback back there and pound the football. If that's what we have to do, that's what we're going to do.
He's literally acknowledging the things that Cobble was bringing up in that first question. We got to be more efficient on third down. We got to be able to run the ball on third and short. I mean, it's the things that he was being asked about that he blew up on. But those are the things that are the thing potentially that could keep this team from being a championship team. Because Brian Kelly didn't come here to beat Florida. He didn't leave Notre Dame, come to LSU to win a night game against Florida 20-10. He came to LSU to win a national championship. And he's right. We saw it. We saw LSU in 2023 have the number one total offense, number one scoring offense in the country, but they couldn't stop anybody. And as a result of that, they finished 9-3, and they were outside of the playoff with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. They have to have defense. But I think it's also fair to ask, have you gone to the other extreme, which is to say now you are so reliant on your defense and your offense can't win a game for you. There's going to be a game somewhere along the way where you're going to have to go score points. You're going to have to be more explosive offensively. Now, what he said mixed in there is they need to get more efficient offensively, and they're going to keep working to get better. And I do believe that's a key. And part of it sometimes is just how your schedule plays out. You play two of the better defenses you're going to play all season in Clemson and Florida in your first three games. The next 2 weeks, you get an FCS school in southeastern Louisiana, and then you're going to play at Ole Miss. Ole Miss gave up over 500 yards to Arkansas. Arkansas had more yards, more passing yards. Arkansas ran for over 200 yards against Ole Miss. You should be able to go to Oxford in 2 weeks and have an explosive offensive day. And if you don't, then I think it's time to sound the alarms about what the ceiling really is for this offense. But you have skill everywhere on offense, and you're working in a new offensive line. That is objectively true, and they're trying to get better. The other thing, too, is it's pretty clear this is what Brian Kelly is asking Garrett Nussmeier to do. He was asked after the game. Again, listen, with that in context, what you just heard about Brian Kelly saying, we're going to lean on our defense to win games. We're going to play ball control. We're going to play field position. You have a great weapon in Grant Chadwick. Now listen, and remember, Nussmeier threw for 4,000 yards a year ago. He had to do it all by himself. And as a result, you went 8-4. Listen to Kelly postgame talking about Nussmeier.
But he did some things better. Obviously, the interception can't happen. I mean, we've talked about it enough, and I'm not going to beat him up here. And he knows. We got to take care of the football. And the way we're playing offensively, you know, we have to be smart, right, and take what the defense gives us. We're in field goal position there, and we got to get 3 points on the board in that situation. So piecing it together, remember now, we had 4 NFL draftees off that offensive line, 4 guys that got drafted in the NFL. I don't know if anybody really knew that. These guys are working hard to get better. I'm with them every single day, and I watch them, and they're going to have to get better. There's no doubt. But they're committed, and we're going to commit to them, and we're going to keep working with them.
Did you hear him say the way we're playing offensively? The way we're playing offensively, Garrett's got to be efficient. The way we're playing, he is acknowledging that this is their plan. Their plan is to play a conservative style of offense, to try to possess the football, not make mistakes, play field position, let the other team make mistakes, lean on your great defense. The question was about Garrett Nussmeier. In that 44-second answer, 30 seconds of the answer was about the offensive line. He wasn't even asked about the offensive line. He acknowledges this. You've got 5 new starters on the offensive line, guys that are learning to play together and some that are struggling. And yes, they've been good in pass protection. They have been very poor, as we've gone through with the PFF grades, in run blocking, but your eye test tells you that as well. LSU's 117th in the country in rush offense. So they're trying to get better. And I can respect that. But then you take it a step even further, and Brian Kelly was asked about the Bauer Sharp play, right? The 65-yard catch and run to Bauer Sharp. Again, all of this is coming together as you hear what he's saying. So many people are going to focus on the outburst when he actually took a moment, took a breath, and started sensibly explaining things. You can see what he's saying.
That safety had been coming down and fitting the run. One of the reasons why we struggled a little bit, they had the extra hat in there, and we were pretty conservative, not wanting to throw the football. And sooner or later, you got to hit some of those plays, and we were able to hit the tight end off of a play-action seam route.
Did you hear him say? We had struggled. They had the extra safety in the box, which is why we had struggled. We were playing conservative. His word, he used the word conservative. We had struggled. We were conservative. But eventually you got to hit that pass. You got to stretch the field, hit that pass, which they did to Bauer Sharp. Again, all the things that he was being asked about in the first question where he blew up, he's acknowledging throughout the press conference, which are issues. They were playing conservative. They were struggling to run the football. The offensive line is coming together. They need to work hard. So I understand him defending his team. He's defending his guys. They won a game, and you should be excited about that. But all of the other things are very real at this point and have to be acknowledged. Your offensive line has to play better. You have to be able to run the ball. You have to be able to convert third and shorts running the football. You've got to be able to stretch the field in the passing game. Those are things that you haven't really been able to do so far through 3 weeks. Now, I'm not saying it won't happen. As I always say, teams are allowed to improve as the season goes along. And you have tons of talent on the offensive side of the ball. But right now, they're not going to risk losing games while trying to be something that they aren't yet. So the question is, how much can you continue to evolve and develop as the season goes along? The next 2 weeks should be a great opportunity for that. Now, I do want to talk. Let's hear what Brian Kelly had to say also about West Weeks and Braelin Moore's injuries, the struggles from DJ Lagway. Still a lot to get to, and we'll do that as we continue here. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time, sit in the front row at your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be, and it was, the game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage styles that you wore back in the 80s and the 90s. Guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code LOCKEDON, you'll get your vintage hat for $16.99. So head to thegamecaps.com. That's thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use the code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount, because legends wear the game. Today's show is also brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. What I love most is how portable they are. Big taste, tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and get a boost when you need it. So I love 5-Hour Energy. It kicks in quickly. I never get a crash. I never get that jittery feeling as well. It gives me laser-like focus. I've taken 5-Hour Energy for years before my 3-hour daily radio show. And enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or be bold and try something new in-store and online at 5hourenergy.com. That's 5hourenergy.com or at Amazon today. And finally, we're brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. So as we continue to move through Brian Kelly's post-game press conference, he was obviously so much of the focus was on the offensive side of the ball, and with good reason. And my feeling will continue to be, we all know that they need to be better. They need to be better on the offensive side of the ball. That's objectively true. And Brian Kelly's saying it as well. The offensive line needs to be better. Nuss can't throw the interception. They got to be able to run the football better. They got to be able to convert on third and short. All of those things are true. And when he sensibly is answering questions, he's telling you that. But there were a lot of emotional moments as he continued to carry on through the press conference. Now, he was asked about DJ Lagway's struggles. And LSU forced him into 5 interceptions. But again, this continues to express and to continue to underscore what the game plan was in this football game. It was, do not let Florida's defensive line disrupt you to the point where you could put yourself in a bad situation. Play field position and make DJ Lagway in that offense that mustered only 16 points on their home field against South Florida. And DJ Lagway, by the way, who up until this point in his career, if you go look at DJ Lagway and the games that he has played during his Florida career already, you're talking about a guy that has not really yet played a difficult road environment. This was their first road game of the year, and if you look back a season ago at the games that DJ Lagway played, they played Georgia, but that was in a neutral site game. And then they also, his only other road game that he started was at Florida State, who is a 2-10 football team. So they knew that DJ Lagway, who had struggled a lot, certainly at the start of this season as well, was ripe. And it was going to be a challenge for that Florida offense to consistently drive the length of the field, which is what they wanted to do. And Brian Kelly effectively said that.
We were moving that pocket where there was great pressure. And so he could never settle and be in rhythm. Most of those picks were out of rhythm throws. And that was the game plan, is to get him out of rhythm. We brought a lot of pressures. They were 5-man pressures, so we were in good coverage situations where we had some zone defenders through some of our simulated pressures that allowed us to be in a really good position. So we weren't caught in many situations where it was strictly in a one-on-one situation. We could have somebody that was overlapping from top down.
Translation: their plan was to pressure Lagway and confuse him with their coverages. Mission completed. You had some great individual efforts by A.J. Halsey. Obviously, Deshaun Spears with 2 interceptions. There were 2 horrific throws by DJ Lagway. The deep middle ball that Tamarcus Cooley intercepted, and then the last heave prayer that DJ Pickett got. But look at Florida's starting field position. Their first drive after a 29-yard punt return, they were at their own 39. But after that, their own 21, their own 6, their own 25, their own 25, their own 14, their own 25 to start the second half. They had a 20-yard punt return and started their own 45. Then their own 25 after a touchback, their own 2 that after Grant Chadwick coffin cornered one that Chris Hilton down there at the 2. They got one at the 37 after Nussmeier's interception, unfortunately. But then their own 15-yard line. They made DJ Lagway consistently have to drive the length of the field against this defense, which most offenses in college football are not going to be able to consistently put together 10-play drives against this LSU defense. Clemson put together 1 scoring drive. Florida put together 1 scoring drive. It's going to be a challenge for any offense to consistently drive the length of the field, a 10-play, 75-yard drive against the LSU defense. Brian Kelly knows it. It's why it's their strategy. I understand it's not the most aesthetically pleasing thing, and we lived through this through the Les Miles era. This is how they won football games. Defense, ball control, punting, field position, great special teams. By the way, hat tip to Grant Chadwick. Hat tip to Damian Ramos, who made a couple of long kicks for you. Aaron Burrell, he's a touchback machine. He's an automatic touchback when you want it. You've got really good return men as well. How about guys like Chris Hilton on your punt coverage team? You've got star players playing special teams for you, so your special teams have been much better. It's how they're having to win games right now and hoping that the offense does continue to develop and come along. Now, a couple other things that I want to touch on. Braelin Moore and West Weeks. Moore went out there, and remember last week on Sunday, I reported that it was a high ankle sprain. On Monday, Brian Kelly said during his press conference at the MRI show, said it wasn't a true high ankle. Remember, Brian Kelly on Monday said it wasn't a true high ankle. Listen to what Brian Kelly said after the game.
Braelin was so gritty to go in there and play. I mean, he had high ankle sprain. And he was like, Coach, I'm going to find a way to play. And he told us that earlier in the week, and we were just really safe with him and careful with him, and did a great job.
He had a high ankle sprain, has a high ankle sprain. Now, he made it through the game, and that's great to see. We'll see what the prognosis is for this week. Remember, you've got Southeastern, so if you want to give him a week, you can before you go to Ole Miss, which is going to be paramount. Then you get an open date after Ole Miss. But Braelin Moore played with a high ankle sprain. He had a couple of holding penalties. It was certainly not his best game, but was having Braelin Moore out there to make the calls, make the checks, all that stuff, a better option than, it was 75, 80% Braelin Moore, a better option than DJ Chester. They went with it. LSU ended up winning the game. Now, there was also the injury in the third quarter to West Weeks, which looked terrible. Now, initially we were told knee, and then short time after it was clarified that it was a calf strain or a calf sprain. And you saw West Weeks on the sideline with a towel over his head and tears in his eyes, and it looked so much worse than just a calf. I can tell you that as of Sunday morning, and here was Brian Kelly after the game.
It's a calf injury with West. We don't think it's, a serious injury. It's not a knee. It's not an ACL. It's not an MCL. But it was a calf injury, and he couldn't really put any pressure on it. So, our doctors felt it was prudent that if he couldn't put enough of pressure on there, he was not going to be effective for us.
Okay, and I can confirm that they were going to do some imaging on Sunday. But it was a calf. It is not thought to be serious. He should be back. I think the emotion he showed was just his desire to be out there in the ball game. But what a great opportunity with Whit Weeks being out for targeting, West Weeks going down with that injury for the young linebackers to play. Devon Keys, 14 tackles, led the team. We got to see Tylen Singleton get out there and run around somebody that, if you're an everydayer, shout out and thank you. You heard us talk about Tylen Singleton a lot during fall camp. I mean, he was getting reps with the ones as they're developing that young linebacker core. We saw Zach Weeks, the third Weeks brother, get out there and run around with his hair on fire in the fourth quarter, which was cool to see. There is a lot of promise in that young linebacker core. But for LSU to be their best this year, obviously, you're going to need Witt and West Weeks on the field. They're your two best guys. Now, speaking of Witt, Brian Kelly was asked about the targeting rule on Witt, and here's what he said.
I think when you become a runner and you duck your head, that targeting is not what we're looking for. It doesn't this is not my call, but I think from a national standpoint, that's the one area that I've always had a problem. When you become a runner and you drop your head, then the crown is susceptible to hitting somebody as a runner. If he's a receiver, if he's defenseless, if any of those other things come up in targeting, I get it. I just have a hard time with this one. I guess they watched it, and he must have hit with the top of his head, the crown. And if you hit with the crown, then it meets targeting. So I understand that. I'm not here. I just philosophically have a hard time when a guy becomes a runner and he ducks his head. That's a difficult burden to put on a tackler.
Couldn't have said it better. I've stumped on this for years. I believe there has to be a subjective element to targeting, meaning there has to be tiers. And you could say, how could you determine intent? You can determine intent. Nobody watched that play and thought Whit Weeks was trying to hurt somebody. There's no way he should have been ejected from the game. In basketball, they have flagrant 1, flagrant 2. You have to have some type of standard like that measure the degrees of plays, because ejecting players, any player, but especially a player like Whit Weeks, who's an All-American, ejected 3 plays into the game, is a fundamental absurdity. We can all agree the spirit of the rule is good. You want to take dangerous plays out of the game. There's no one that would disagree with that. Dangerous plays need to be legislated out of the game, but you can't legislate contact and collision and violence out of a violent collision sport. And sometimes exactly what Brian Kelly said is going to happen. You have a runner ducks his head, and then you're going to have collisions like that. It's why they wear helmets. And ejecting Whit Weeks by the letter of the law was the correct decision, but the law needs to be changed. The rule needs to be modified for a flagrant 1, flagrant 2, a targeting 1, targeting 2, that will differentiate between plays like what we saw with Whit Weeks and plays that are dangerous, where players that should warrant an ejection. There's no way Whit Weeks' hit should have warranted an ejection. By the letter of the law, it was correctly administered. My point is, it needs to be changed. Hopefully, at some point in the future, it will be, because that's got to stop. Okay, Tigers are 3-0. They're number 3 in the country. On our next episode, it'll be our PFF grade, so look for that. And make sure that you subscribe. We go through the Pro Football Focus grades, and taking a quick peek at them already, I can tell you that it's going to be a lot of what you thought based on what you saw with that offensive line. We'll dive into that on our next episode. Hey, thanks so much for making us your first listen. Do us a favor. If you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. Let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.